Give me a break. This woman, this mother who was supposed to love and cherish her daughter, had her locked away for 25 long years. Unbelievable. Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Shayna, and in my little corner of the internet, we talk about spooky history of all kinds. If that sounds like something you're interested in, be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell because I upload on Wednesdays. Or if podcasts are more your thing, I do have a podcast called Spooky History with Shayna Blake, and that is where all of the audios of my videos go. So I'll be sure to have a link down in the description for you. So today's episode is an old one that I actually hadn't heard of before. Now, this story takes place in France in the year 1876, so if I mispronounce any names, words, I do apologize. But let's go on and jump right in. Now, there was a beautiful French socialite named Blanche Monnier who lived with a mother, Madame Louise Monnier, as well as Blanche's brother, Marcel. Madame Monnier, or we will just call her Louise so I don't keep messing up their last name, was the only one who ran the household because her husband passed away in 1879. So this meant that it was very important that Blanche find a distinguished and well-off husband to help the family continue to flourish. Now, with Blanche being 25, she was starting to get up there in age, which to us isn't old now, but back then, the sooner you were married and having children, the better. Now, Blanche would eventually find the man who she fell madly in love with and was ready to marry. However, Louise would disapprove of this relationship. The man Blanche chose was a lawyer who was quite a bit older than her and was not as successful as some of the other suitors Blanche had to choose from. So Louise begged Blanche to not marry this man. She thought he was way beneath them, while Blanche stood her ground. She threatened to run off and elope with this man, and Louise did not like this one bit. She did what normal parents did back in the day, and she locked her away until she would come to her senses. However, Blanche never did. She would be locked away in a lightless room for the next 25 years, forcing her to survive off of table scraps. Now, Blanche was a beautiful French woman that people knew. Her mom was a pillar of their community, and it was weird that she seemed to just vanish from the public eye. Many found this very strange. Now, people would speculate that some of the neighbors knew about Blanche's imprisonment because they could hear her screaming in her room. And if anyone ever asked Louise what was going on, she would claim that Blanche had gone insane. And you know, this was pretty common back in the day. If there was a family member who was mentally or physically handicapped, they would just lock them away from the rest of the world. So the neighbors understood and didn't press the issue. Now, however, Louise did not just keep Blanche out of the public eye. She was padlocked in a dark room with sealed windows. She had no interaction with people other than her mother, brother, and the occasional servant who would bring her scraps. Blanche was kept naked, and they didn't allow her to have any sort of basic hygiene. She wasn't able to bathe, brush her teeth, have bathroom breaks, nothing. For 25 years, she laid in her bed where she ate, urinated, and defecated. And of course, as time went on, she would become more and more malnourished. And because of the filth that was piling up around her, this would attract rodents and bugs. I'm sure we could imagine what being locked away in a solitary confinement for 25 years would do to someone's mental stability. Then, finally, in 1901, the Attorney General of France would receive an anonymous letter, and here's what it said. Monsieur Attorney General, I have the honor to inform you of an exceptionally serious occurrence. I speak of a spinster who is locked up in Madame Monnier's house, half-starved and living on a putrid litter of the past 25 years. In a word, in her own filth. End quote. Now, this would be the letter that would prompt a search of the Monniers' home. They were at first pretty hesitant, one thinking that this could be some prank, and two, they were concerned because Louise was a well-respected woman of their community. Now, to this day, no one knows for sure who wrote this letter. Some believe it was Blanche's brother, others think it was some family member of a servant who works for Louise, but the police felt that they should go and check just to make sure and disprove this letter. They would go to Louise's home and knocked on the door. There was no answer. They decided to go on and let themselves in so they could get this over with. But once they opened the door, they were hit with this awful smell. They decided to follow the smell and they came to a locked door. And let me tell you, they had no idea what they were about to uncover. When the police broke down the door, they were horrified. Here's what the officers said. "We immediately gave the order to open the casement window. This was done with great difficulty, for the old dark-colored curtains fell down in a heavy shower of dust. To open the shutters, it was necessary to remove them from their right hinges. As soon as light entered the room, we noticed in the back, lying on the bed, her head and body covered with a repulsively filthy blanket, a woman identified as Mademoiselle Blanche Monnier. The unfortunate woman was lying completely naked on a rotten straw mattress. All around her was formed a sort of crust made from excrement, fragments of meat, vegetables, fish, and rotten bread. We also saw oyster shells and then bugs running across Mademoiselle Monnier's bed. The air was so unbreathable. The odor gave off by the room was so rank, it was impossible for us to stay any longer to proceed with our investigation." End quote. This would be such a horrifying and very sad thing to experience. And to think that the mother Louise did all of this only because she wanted to keep up appearances. It's truly tragic. Now, the police were quick to cover up Blanche and transported her to the Paris hospital. She was barely alive and just under 55 pounds. Because she had not seen sunlight in 25 years, she would cower when brought outside. The police would notate that Blanche had covered the walls in words and phrases related to her freedom, which is so sad to think about. She was unable to speak properly and was completely delirious. The police would soon interrogate Louise and then Blanche's brother Marcel. They would claim that Blanche was foul, angry, overly excited, and full of rage, which was justifying her extreme isolation. I mean, duh. You lock someone away for so long, they're gonna go crazy and be full of rage because you locked them up. It's not rocket science. Now, when the authorities took Blanche in, they said that she didn't exhibit any of those features. She was very calm and was happy when the nurses gave her a bath. After some extended care, Blanche would be able to gain the weight back and could speak in short phrases, but her imprisonment caused so much deep trauma that she wasn't able to fully recover. Now, Louise was already not doing good in her health at the time Blanche was rescued. She was in her mid-70s at this point and was frail and suffered from some heart problems. So when she was brought to prison, her failing health would require them to take her to a medical unit. She would end up dying 15 days after her arrest. And you want to know what this woman's last words were, supposedly? "Oh, my poor Blanche," end quote. Give me a break. This woman, this mother, who was supposed to love and cherish her daughter, had her locked away for 25 long years because her daughter fell in love with someone she didn't approve of. Unbelievable. Sorry. Now, because Louise died in prison before she could go to court, her son Marcel would have to face the courts by himself. And what this family did to Blanche sincerely enraged the people in the community. Marcel would go on to say that his mother was in charge of the family, not him. He contended he had attempted to make Blanche's life as comfortable as he could, but that he could just not reason with his mother. Now, I wish I knew how he tried to make her life comfortable. Was he the one who fed her scraps? She had not had a bath in 25 years. She was just sitting in her own filth. The room was never cleaned, and she was kept in the dark. How is that making her comfortable? Please, enlighten me. He could have broke her out of imprisonment. He knew it was wrong, but he didn't want to make his mommy mad. He went along with it. However, the courts had difficulty finding him fully guilty, so they sentenced him to 15 months in prison, which wasn't long enough in my opinion, but which makes it worse is Marcel was a lawyer himself, and he decided to appeal this decision and would state that he was never violent towards his sister. And because France did not recognize it as a crime to not free someone whom you did not imprison yourself. He actually won his appeal and the courts dropped all the charges. Completely unbelievable to me. I feel like he was just as at fault as his mother was. That's just my opinion though. He knew what was going on and he didn't stop it anyways. And when Monnieur's prestigious reputation came crashing down, the people of the community went against Marcel. Marcel and his family would later have to go into hiding to escape from the angry mob, which I don't think his family deserves that kind of treatment, but I think he does. Just saying. Also, I don't think he was the one that sent that letter to authorities. He had 25 years to do something, and he didn't. Unless somehow he knew she was about to die or knew his mother was about to die and decided to get it over with. I really don't know, but I think it was someone else who found out and came forward. But I mean, Blanche, she was never the same. She would live out the rest of her life in a sanitarium in, I think it's Blois, France, until her death in 1913. So that is the tragic story of Blanche Monnier, the woman who was locked away for 25 years. I hope you found this story interesting. If you did and are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that like, subscribe button, and notification bell. It really does help out my channel. Or if you're listening on my podcast, please be sure to leave me a review if you can. Either way, I'm just happy you are here, watching, and listening. I hope you all have a very blessed day, and I will see you next week. Bye.